Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 22nd, 2021 at approximately 2:53 a.m. BST. Well, just about ran out of time on that. Anyway, before I get into that, as I tried to say, 2:53 a.m. PST. Now, the neat little part about all this is a live recording, meaning I double check at the end of it, and once I've done the recording, to make sure I've got the date right, and that's the date and time. That is all I bother with. Date most importantly. And if that's right, then it gets posted as is. The hiccups, any stumbles, any trips that I make, any movements you see, they are all there, because that's just me. I don't see the point in editing any of it. Okay, my editing is relegated to just what I write. Now, that said, prior to today, we have covered the following: thought, choice, business, or not business, rather, thought, choice, success. And success got broken into 4 days: purpose, plans, persistence, and patience. Then we covered creation, foundation, expansion, community, and self-awareness. Today we're looking at prosperity and just exactly what that boils down to. Now, before I get into this, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Okay, the one goal that I came back here, that I returned to this life at all to do, was pass on one message. And that is that working together, we can make this a better world for everybody. The catch to it is this: I can't do it on my own. Okay, it is going to require the effort of all of you, every entity in existence, not just the ones that are seeing this video. So I'm asking for your assistance. I had your assistance, well, I've still got your assistance. That's the easy part. And I do thank you for that. When I first got started with doing this vlog, and yes, thank you to the individual that actually told me what that was called. When I first started doing this vlog, it was because the people on spacedoutradio.com encouraged me to get onto it, to get on and do it. So here I am. And the reality of it is, I'm going to need your assistance to spread the message. Regardless of where people come from, regardless of how you got to where you are, regardless of anything, you are all equal in a lot of ways. Okay, one of the big ones, you're right here, right now. And this is literally the only time in existence that any entity can do anything. And where it comes to success, where it comes to changing the direction your world is running in, is going to require your personal effort. Nobody else in existence can actually change. It can actually be successful for you. It can look like it. They can push you until you get there, and you can give all the credit to them. But the reality is, you're the one that has to do the work. Now, when we're talking about prosperity, that depends on the individual's perception. Okay, what do you consider prosperous? For me, much as I do like the concept of a lot of money and being debt-free and all of that, the reality is it's not actually that important to me. What matters more is how I feel. Okay, is whether or not I'm content with the way my life is going. To this end, for me personally, prosperity really boils down to getting all the junk out of my way. Okay, now, you'll notice this little sign here. It's been moved over. This is the one that helps me stay focused on the finances. Now, the funny part about that is this sign, and the only change to it is the number I'm about to say. And the reason for that is this: when you look at your finances, that number boils down to what does it cost you to run your house or run your business. And that includes your rent or your mortgage or your lease, utilities, insurance, transportation, your cost of material in the case of production of anything, okay, as well as food. Okay, and don't forget to put a little aside for entertainment. Now, for me, that is $2,000. So this sign here says I have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by September 30th, 2021, 2359. Now, 2359, for those of you that are not aware, is military time in lingo for 1 minute to midnight. Now, personally, I have a lot of respect for those people that join the military to protect their country, to protect their people, to protect their families. Okay, I've made no bones about that. Do I question the motivation of the superiors? Absolutely. But then I question the motivation of everybody, myself included. Now, understand, I'm not perfect by any functional stretch. But where it comes to prosperity, take a look at what you consider prosperous prosperity itself. Now, I'm not going to bother looking up the definition in the dictionary, because to me, it's what matters here that will tell you whether you're being prosperous or not. Okay. Now, many people will look at success and prosperity as one and the same. Funny part there is it still is, in that aspect, it still is the same. You still have to decide what you consider success. How do you tell you're getting ahead? For me, it was pretty cut and dried. The easiest way to note whether you're getting ahead is, are you debt free? And I'm referring to financially. Okay, this does not mean do you feel you owe anybody anything for the effort and the support they've given you. This boils down to, do you actually owe anything that is trackable? That's what I'm referring to by debt-free. Okay, is the financial side of it. Now, am I debt-free? No. Am I aware of where I'm standing financially? Absolutely. And that is ultimately the real key to it. If you know where you're standing and your income exceeds your expenses, then you'll be fine. Now, the neat part about this, okay, that $2,000 is by the end of September. Well, I'm on the 22nd and I'm already past that point. I've already made that this month. I'll be changing that in about a week. Okay, once I figure out what my total income for the month is, then I'll adjust it and push it up from there. Which I suspect, based on the income this month, I'm going to end up pushing for. Okay, now again, we've talked about this whole issue of working together, and here's the thing with prosperity. Okay, there are those that will tell you they've got to get to the top, and then they can help everybody. And take a look at this idea, though. You're trying to climb a ladder. Now, you can climb that ladder all the way to the top and then reach back and try and help people. But that's great if that ladder is only 2 steps. Okay, if the ladder is more than that, you may run into a problem. So, it may be time to consider helping the people around you so that together you can move up as a cluster. For me, it works out easy. Okay, in a couple of ways. One, I don't have a whole lot of people around me, makes it real easy. But much more importantly, from your standpoint, is when you're looking at the people around you, giving them a little bit of a help up. And this does not mean funding their way. Okay, understand, you have to take care of you first. Because and that does not become selfish. But the reality is, if you're not taking care of you first, you're going to be hard-pressed to take care of other people. Regardless of what people have told you, that's just the reality behind it. At least from what I've seen. It's kind of like when you get on an airplane and they tell you, in case of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before helping somebody else put theirs on. Okay, because the reality is, if you don't put your oxygen mask on first, you're going to have a lot of trouble helping anybody else anyway. So, as you're striving to climb that ladder to success, something that you might desire to look at is, are you remembering the people that helped you when you were unknown, as it were? Okay. Are you remembering the people that have helped you get that far? Do you remember where you came from? Prosperity is something that, from what I've seen, if you're not content with your life, all the money in the world will not matter. Okay. You can have, I heard one person put it really well. And what they said was, I've been miserable rich and I've been miserable poor. Hands down, I would rather be miserable rich. Somebody else told me, they literally said, you know, money does not buy happiness, but it does afford you the opportunity to look for it in a lot more places. In all fairness, from what I've seen with a lot of people, and maybe this is a hold up on my end, I don't know. What I've seen with a lot of people is they get a whole pile of money and all of a sudden they look at it as though they are better than other people. Now, sadly, society promotes this idea. This is why people take a look at countries and go, we're a first world country, that's a third world country. Well, bad news for you. It's all the same world. Okay, and I've talked to people with a lot of money, and I've talked to people with absolutely no money. Okay, and I'll tell you, the best example I ever ran into, where it came to understanding what prosperity really was. I was sitting on the street. I was sitting on the street because I was waiting for the office to open, and I used to have coffee with this one chap. Okay, and we're sitting there having coffee, and he turns around, and while we're sitting there, somebody come by and dropped a can in his basket. Now this guy lived on the street. Okay, so I'm sitting there, and this person come along, dropped him a pop can into his basket, and he said, "Thank you very much." And he looks at me and he goes, "I really don't need this." Right. But he says, "I'm just plain not stupid." He says, "I do smoke." And he says, "I've got to go to the grocery store anyway, so what difference does it make? Where's the harm in taking a pop can back?" Right. Then, for whatever reason, he pulled out his bank book and he opens it up and he shows me the man has a very high six-figure balance in his bank account. So, of course, me being me, it's like, okay, I understand that kind of money. Okay, I've never lived on the street and I intend to keep it that way personally. But he goes, he says, try that again. I said, I've never seen that kind of money before. And I says, with that kind of money, why aren't you in a house? He says, two reasons. One, I like living on the street. I like sleeping outdoors. He says, with this kind of money, if it's really bad weather or really cold, I'll rent a hotel room for a night or maybe a week. Right. And then he says, I'll go back to the street. He says, the other point is this. He goes, in my opinion, the government has enough money. They don't need mine. Right. Now, that right there told me money was not making him happy. He had a lot. But he wasn't having any real qualms about it. So that was great. There was another one that I heard of, but the other real big one that I could not believe. I was sitting on the street, sitting and having coffee with another chap that lived on the street. Right. He had his stuff. It wasn't a question of I was going out and buying these people these things. I just have a tendency of talking to people that are outside when I get there. So we're sitting there and we're having a conversation. This guy'd been on the street for a couple of years. And we're sitting there and this chap comes along. He's in a really dirty business suit. And he sits down beside me. Right. And he sits down beside us and he goes, I'm so depressed. I used to have a wife. I used to have kids. My kids were with me. I had a good job. I had a good house. He said, now I've lost everything. I'm now living on the street. I've got nothing. So I'm living in a cardboard box. Well, the chap that had been on the street for years did the funniest thing. He leans forward to look around me, to look right at this guy, and goes, "You got a cardboard box?" And I'm like, "Now, there's a chap that's making the most of what he's got. He's already on the street, and he looks at a cardboard box as a step up. Prosperity depends on how you look at it. Okay. For me, it's very simple. If you follow karmic law, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and you treat people the way you desire to be treated, you will be a lot more relaxed. Same applies to as you're organizing energy in your house. Okay, in my case, I am getting things organized. As you can see with this shelf down over here, I got it cleared off yesterday. Okay, there's still more to do. I mean, this is going to be a work in progress. But as the energy in your place gets turned around and gets moving properly, because you do not destroy energy, you simply alter its position, you change the way it's traveling. Okay, by doing that, you'll find that your life runs a whole lot smoother. Now, don't take my word for it. If you haven't done this before, give it a shot and see what happens. Okay. The thing is, the more energy, the more effort you put into straightening your life out, the easier it's going to be for you to cope with the day-to-day stresses. Now, am I the perfect person to say everything runs fine? Well, I can say it, but I would have to lie. Okay. This is one of the reasons why I pulled back from people. Okay, was so I could get my own life organized, so I was content. Well, you can't tell it because the drawer is closed. But that filing cabinet over there, I emptied the top drawer of it so that I can actually start sorting through it. And of course, where the camera sits, you can't see most of what I'm doing, but that's okay. Yeah, you can't. And you'll just have to live with that, sort of. Okay, those files over there that I've got sitting over there now. For me to become as prosperous as I desire to be, that's the files out of the top drawer because I'm going through them one file at a time to make sure everything in that file, in that top drawer, is simply to run my life. Now, the fact that I happen to have a business that I run from home, that simply is part of my life. So I will continue working with that. Where it comes to your prosperity, your success, you're the one that has to do the job, has to do the work. You're the one that is going to have to take a look at things and go, this is what I'm aiming for. This is what makes me content. And that is entirely up to you. Absolutely surround yourself with people that have a similar mindset. Okay, providing in all fairness, and it's your choice, but it's recommended you put yourself in contact with people that are being true to themselves, doing unto others as they desire others to do unto them, and following the concept of energy out, energy in. Now, success does not just happen overnight on the whole. Some people luck out with it, and I question the luck out. And the reason I question whether getting there in a hurry is lucky is because I've seen so many people, they play the lottery, week in and week out, in that off chance that they're going to win the lottery. Well, here's the problem with it. Of the majority of people that I've ever heard of that win the lottery, 3 years later, within 3 years of winning the lottery, they're in worse shape than they were before they won it. And the reason for that I discovered in personal terms earlier this year. Okay. In January, the estate from my parents passing came clear, and I ended up with a lot of money that came through. Now, I buried a lot of it into taking care of my retirement. Okay, but what I didn't clue into and didn't figure out until May was I hadn't corrected the thought process, meaning spending habits and outlooks and what have you were still the same. Okay, which meant I went and did exactly the same thing again. Fortunately, because of the way I did it, it clued in May. Now, it took me realistically until this month. So here we are, 4 months later. I finally got everything organized. I'm now on an upswing. I know exactly where I'm heading. I corrected, in my opinion, and that would be the only opinion that really matters. Okay, as I told one prospective boss, it doesn't matter if other people think you're doing well. If you don't personally think you're doing well, that's what's going to make that's what's going to make the biggest impact. So I finally this month, in my opinion, figured out the path that I was on and how to correct it. Shifted the energy net result. My apartment and my office is starting to take on a more effective look. Now, much of the work that you have to do to correct things has to be done at the base level. It's got to be done behind the scenes. Okay. And prosperity, the way it was put to me when I was a kid, especially if we look at it in financial terms, was if you take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Okay. There's also an old African proverb I was informed of that goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you move a mountain? One shovelful at a time, or one brick at a time. You take care of the little projects, and this is why I have this funny little thing that I keep telling people about called the list. You do the stuff down, and because I'm not planning on throwing paper away and just wasting it, I wrote down for yesterday, and now I'm starting off on today. I will carry on with that idea, but these tasks that I put out, okay, these tasks that I'm talking about, I recommend you start with 3. Okay, keep them down to 15-minute to half-hour tasks. And by doing that, when you get one done, check it off and add another one to the bottom of the list. By doing that, you will be able to see progress in what you're doing. By keeping this handy here on a month-by-month basis, you'll be able to see progress. Okay, by watching what you're doing, what you're eating, and I don't mean how much. I mean that does matter. But I'm not a health expert, but I will tell you this: mathematics works. If you're putting less effective calories into your body than what you're burning, you're going to gain weight. If you're putting, correction, that came out really backwards. If you're putting less calories into your body than what you're burning, you're going to lose weight. Now, I discovered something decades back. Okay, and don't take my word for it. Check the information. Okay, but what I discovered was apparently thinking actually burns calories. Okay, that plus, of course, learning a second language. Never mind which language, just the idea of learning a second language. Okay, will help deal with things like mental degradation as you get older. Using your eyes will help straighten them on the whole. Now, I'm no doctor, but I can tell you, for me, part of prosperity boils down to getting back into proper shape. To this end, these glasses, I used to have them. If I was holding them right there, I couldn't physically see them. I now have, according to the doctors, 20/20 eyesight for reading. According to me, I'm sitting back from the computer and I can still see the whites in my own eyes. Okay. To me, it means I'm gaining in health. The fact, at my worst, I was 246 pounds. Okay. I desired to drop weight. Okay. By doing that, I became successful at it. And I'm currently down at, I think the last time I checked, which was a couple of days ago, I'm still around the 210. Now, to you, that probably isn't much, but I will tell you, with a bad leg, dropping the weight has helped immensely. And the reason I call it dropping the weight is because if you use the idea that most of you have, that you're going to lose weight, Well, the problem with that is, mentally speaking, I don't know about you, but whenever I lose something, I go looking for it again. The hiccup in that is where it comes to weight. When you lose weight and you find it again, it comes back, and it usually comes back with company, it would seem. Prosperity boils down to understanding that when you're working, when you've got the energy working in the right fashion, you will attain the goals that you've got. And I've talked to you before about this idea. If you've put your life on hold, if you put a project on hold because somebody else told you couldn't do it, you weren't good enough, okay, or whatever the project wasn't good enough, and that shut you down, it may be time to take a look at it again. Now, this does not mean you'll become absolutely successful in everybody else's eyes. Point in fact is this little book. I considered it a massive success. I wrote the outline, okay, to the entire saga when I was in grade 10. To me, the success boiled down to I had it in print. Okay. And for me, that was the key. Okay, that said, I came up with an idea. Now, it took me 45 years to get it done. But, well, it came out in 2019, so... Oh. Well, 2019 is only 4 years ago, so we're talking 54 years, 39 years of work, because I started when I was 15. But I see that as markers of prosperity, where I have worked with other people, and this is the real key to it. Okay, no woman, no entity is an island unto itself. Meaning, we work with others, you get the assistance of others, you barter with them, whether it's you barter with them and give them money, or you do something for them. That's your call. Okay, but by working with those around you, by utilizing their skill sets combined with yours, okay, you're altering the world around you. And once that gets into balance, then you start working with other people. Now, to get these writing projects up and running, I've had to, not only do I do the writing, but I've had to find editors that can help me to make sure the writing comes out what I consider as well as can be expected. Okay, now, there's no thing where it comes to creative works. And that is, especially where it comes to painting. Okay, the artwork is never finished. You just stop doing it. Okay, now these stories will be able to be done later. Okay, I'm currently just about done. We're on page 200, and I think I've got about 150 pages left of the final edit to complete the second book. Okay, so we're running into some interesting snags, but I'm still very hopeful of getting it out by the end of the year. Where it comes to prosperity, that is your choice, what you see as being prosperous. Yep. Good thing I put those back on. Now, I do my best to keep these videos to a half hour. With that in mind, okay, stay focused. Remember, working with others, we can make this a better world for most people. And it's going to be through working with others that you'll find it easiest to attain the goals you have. But remember to stay true to you first. Okay, now I'm going to bring this to a close. So again, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, and remember to hit that alert bell to let you know when the next video comes out. Okay, because there's a lot of information coming out. In the meantime, I'm going to let you go, and I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.